the medical assessment was pretty bleak, and there was certainly risk at that time. We felt of me going out and training for it and running another 100. In fact, we decided we weren't going to run one, and then I got into Western. In this day and age where we have a machine or technology to do just about anything for us, we could have a real, complacent lifestyle. But SISU is something where, you split your own wood by hand. Just a certain level of perseverance and toughness, and realize that we all have something in us that we rarely touch, but it's always there, and it'll help us through. The Western States is just a great race. It's a great event, and something that was on my bucket list from day one. And first time I did it in 2015, I got in on one ticket. So I was completely unprepared. I thought I was fit enough to go sub 24 hours, but I wasn't enough of a race strategist to go sub 24 hours. I made some mistakes, which really made me want to go back. And so this year's race was exciting for me to get back in. But another 4 years on the legs, I certainly had enough experience, but my training plan changed significantly because of some of the stuff I dealt with my knee injuries and what I could and couldn't do. So I went into the race feeling super fit, but I had no idea whether I was fit enough to go under 24 hours.
My actual sister and
with those other guys, these guys fit.
Hey buddy, watch out, what you're doing? How are you? Hey Joey.
So I'll probably be, but that, it's all good. I'm kind of used to it.
I'm excited. Yeah, I know.
no, you're not waiting.
Oh, it's better than I'm gonna be. It's so awesome. Isn't it great?
That's the bad part is
Starstruck.
I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's gonna be awesome.
You
Yes, can you get the heart flutters?
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
Pictures.
So why ultra running? It, for me, it's, well, we were empty nesters. We had to fill up 10 to 12 hours of kid time. And so we just started trying to figure out what both my wife and I like to do. And we found running, and that just kind of evolved into ultra running. And from there, it's like, why 100 miles or why 50 miles? I think what's really cool about it for me is it's so simple and specific in terms of how you perform is exactly up to you and how much effort and time you put in. Where in the commercial world, you're relying on a team and leadership and other departments to help have a successful organization in the commercial world, which is where I spend probably quite a few more hours than I do ultra running. And so the divergence is you go to ultra running, and that's fun. The commercial world is fun, and I get excited about that throughout my career. But ultra running really comes down to you're only dependent on you for the most part, whether it's a training plan, whether it's the result of whether you finish a race or do well or not. It's really, there's just such a perfect direct correlation that everything you put in is going to determine your success. and there's not a whole lot of other pieces to that other than the support and encouragement from family and friends, and your crew on race day. So that's the race part of it, and then the rest of the part of the ultra running is just such a great social atmosphere. You know, when we moved to Omaha, didn't know anybody, we didn't have kids in schools, we didn't have a huge network, and we decided to hop into a goats, you know, just random run one Saturday morning at 4 a.m. and you pull up in the dark and you felt like family right away. And that community just continued since then, and it became a big part of our social network sort of post kids, and it's a great community to be part of.
Here I am at the top of the 6K challenge. Didn't know I was going to do the 6K challenge, but I got so busy flying a drone that I lost Mike and Steve and Biz, and so they turned around. And I'm up here by myself. But I think I might have won the 6K challenge, because I'm not seeing anybody else.
Oh, we found him!
6K champ.
Lower number 2.
plan to just kind of keep a consistent cadence throughout the day. And it worked great, you know, up through Emigrant. I was right on plan. The snowfield wasn't a problem at all for me. I mean, training in northern Minnesota, you know, I basically ran on snow. I think we had snowfall before Thanksgiving last year, and the last snowfall was May 20th. So the snowfield was just like another day of training. And, you know, it was not a big deal. In fact, I think we got into first aid station where we saw you, Dave, and Mike at Duncan Canyon, and I'm feeling pretty good. I'm right where I want to be on my pace. I mean, my plan was to get to Forest Hill at somewhere just under 14 minutes per mile, and so I wanted to push it a little bit earlier before I got into the canyons, and came into Duncan feeling pretty good. Saw Mike and Dave, made a quick change, and got out of there.
Yeah, you're going in that bottle.
If you have toilet paper over here. Whatever you got. Give me spicy. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Guys, it's really quiet again. All right. Nope, it's all 9 handle. 90 in the canyons, Matt. 90 to the chips. You can volunteer here too. We usually camp out a couple days early. No, nobody can? Okay.
It's our
Here we go.
We get paid.
Can we get a big number on you?
Give them my shit and pop right up.
Anybody whiskey, anybody?
We'll take a water.
All right.
And worked our way up to Robinson, which really wasn't much of an issue at all. You know, some wet trail, but you know, I've been running in wet all year. And got in Robinson was great to see Biz and my wife Wendy, my daughter Biz and my wife Wendy, and it was fun coming into Robinson. It always is. There's a lot of folks there, and there's a lot of excitement. So yeah, got in and out of there, and started to feel my quads load up coming out of Robinson Flat, heading down into Dusty Corners. It's a long downhill grind into there, and even started to back off a little bit, but still on plan where I wanted to be. About 2 miles before Dusty, Jody Seminole came up behind me, and it was fun to run those last 2 miles with Jody down into Dusty, and actually run into Dusty with her, having the goats connection, and that being my start in ultra running, and having both our crews there was really kind of fun to come in there hand in hand with Jody.
Wait, wrong one. Okay.
Empty that. How's your watch doing? You need a charge or not?
Yeah, probably, Dave.
I'll put the charger on it.
You guys got salt here? I dumped my salt tube out accidentally. I'm gonna need salt.
Number 282, Rob, on
Good job, Todd. Red. Apparently they didn't have black and gold. Walking back from Dusty Corners. Steve and Jody both came in at about 1:54. Both look pretty good. Steve is on pace, 14-minute mile pace. So things are looking good so far. The weather is fantastic, nice and cool. Mike and I are having fun.
It's a good day. Can't get any better than watching him go. Stay consistent, stay on his path that he wanted to. So we're going to make that goal.
And the next question we're going to ask him is, what is the average heart rate of Adam Rude's heart rate in a race? We didn't ask him that, but we'll get him to him next aid station. See if he has the right answer. Adam has an answer, but it's not correct. We want the accurate answer.
Adam's totally lying about what he's saying. But Adam's a liar.
He is.
Got some excitement. Got out of Dusty and headed towards Last Chance. And really coming into Last Chance is where my quads really started to load up. I mean, at that point, I knew that I didn't have the type of training that I typically would to prepare for those long downhills. And I knew it was going to start to be a pretty long day. You know, getting out of Devil's Thumb, coming back into Michigan Bluff was when I first started to encounter you know, just stomach issues. Like for the first time, I had significant stomach issues that I just couldn't solve. I couldn't get the nausea to go away. I couldn't eat. I was fatigued, and there's some pretty good photos and videos out there of how things went at Michigan Bluff.
Feels good. Got it.
Are you getting this, Dave? You totally got to do it again.
How about the other side, Sor?
Try it.
This one or the other one?
Oh,
Do you want your rub-on stuff?
I do.
Okay. Do you want icy hot?
Biz has that diclofenac. I got a fart hug, get away.
I'll come back. Yeah, just a little bit. You pick up Biz, then you pick up Dave, then you pick up me.
Yep.
And everything's
Biz
done.
been around with me?
She's gonna walk you in Bath, about a mile.
Yeah.
See you guys, thanks.
Yep. Go get it. We'll see you soon.
6.3, man.
You're really good timing.
Where certainly my attitude was great, but the guts were not good, and I was pretty spent. And I imagine there were a few people as I walked out of there thinking, I don't know, we might have a turnaround project here.
Heading up to Bath Road to pick up Steve. Biz went up there to bring him in. It's about a mile back into Forest Hill. It's just starting to turn dark. It's about 8:30ish, 8:40ish. Steve's been doing really well. It's going to be some downhill sections here pretty soon down California Ave, but we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna be fun to get him home. I'll get him to Green Gate, and then Mike will take him home into Placer Track. So looking forward to it.
By the time I got to Forest Hill, I remember being in the aid station, and the first time ever in a race, I had the honor of completely eliminating everything in my stomach, and I think going out of there, I think you and Mike probably looked at each other and said, I think we got some work to do. But it was, and I knew that coming out of Forest Hill. It was great to have Dave pacing me at that point, and you have someone you're familiar with on the trail, and something else to chat about and talk about and kind of ease the pain. But at the same time, Dave picked up the pace, or you picked up the pace, and I knew that you had. And the whole time I thought, boy, he's got us clipping along at 11, 12 minute miles here, and it was fun to respond to that. And I kind of knew that we were just going to go for it and try to pick up some time back. And so I was just going to follow your lead, and throughout that night there, it's like we kept it going for a while, and then you hit the energy wall with no calories in your gut, and but at the same time we kept up a good hard pace, and so I think we were probably hiking 14, 15 minutes a mile as my stomach.
Only Dave an hour and 20 minutes I had a cutoff. They can get a picture of the
Let me
kitty.
lock in. All right, guys.
How you guys feeling?
Good.
Fresh as a daisy.
As my stomach settled down, and even though the quads were sore, my energy level was gone, got into Green Gate, picked up Mike, and my stomach started to come around a little bit, got a couple gels in, and Mike's great at motivating me just into doing ridiculous stuff. Suddenly get out on the trail with a pacer like Dave, and the experience was the same with Mike.
Nice job.
Way to go, boys.
And all of a sudden having someone to motivate you and get so much more out of yourself than you could do alone. It just stuck out. And I don't know how people do those races alone and do them well. Because personally, I need that sense of, or I need that teamwork to really motivate me at times to do so much more than I thought I was capable of. And it was stunning. First 5 miles out of Forest Hills was stunning how much we picked up the pace. And then from ALT to the finish, Mike motivating me.
Yeah,
with,
baby.
You know, let's pass the guy in the pack shorts. It's like, you nuts. But somehow we did it. And then the run to the finish line.
I meet them on the road.
Someone said we put down an 8:15 mile. I mean, I don't know if I run an 8:15 mile in training the whole past 24 weeks or so. So that's kind of what stuck out was how much more effective a team and people close to you around you motivate you to do a lot more than you get.
Again. You guys again.
I know.
Not because of any other reason that that's how we. No, I'm trying to get. Oh, hey. Woo! Woo, woo, woo! Hey, I told you I was going to make it back. Come on, Biz and Len.
What?
Get up here.
Both of you?
Yep.
I think he wants to
We're
hold
crossing
hands with the
together.
lady. I know.
We're crossing again.
I think he wants you to hold hands with him.
No, we don't do that.
Get on the
You know, at the finish of 100-mile races, I mean, the first one's a huge accomplishment, but I'm not a super emotional guy at finishes. And, you know, we're sitting in the tent and I finished the 100 and I was super happy about that. And at the time, I certainly wasn't going to run another 100. The plan wasn't to run another 100. This was supposed to be my last. I may have kicked that can down the road a little bit since then. You know, you let time heals all wounds, right? Even physical ones. The thing about a race like that and finishing a race like that, because then you stop and you say, now what? You know, now what? And there's a lot of people that kind of go through that post-race depression almost, where, you know, you've spent 6 months planning and preparing and training for it, and that's your deal. You know, you store up all your treasures in that, and you got to be careful of it, because you finish it and you say, now what? And you know, what, you got to run another 100 miles is now what? But at some point, we're all not going to run another 100 miles. I mean, there's a limit on this gig, and throughout my life, no matter what it's been, whether, you know, I used to love to fish and hunt, and I still do, and it never fills you up. And at the end of the day, you got to really find what really fills you up. And for me, I've always, you know, at my very core, I'm a pretty faithful person, and I have a strong faith in Christ. And I know that I'm filled up in the peace of Christ, that I get to run 100 miles every day someday, but it's just not going to be here. But you do got to be careful, and I struggle with it all the time. I love to run. I love to run 100 miles, and I want to keep running 100 miles, and I can. That becomes all my focus. And after it, when you can't, or when you finish a race, or you going through the recovery stage, you can almost slip into a little bit of depression. And I know a lot, a lot of people in this community struggle with that. And, I think we all just need to watch out for each other, especially when you know someone's finished a race or maybe they can't run for a while because they're injured. Make sure you just watch out for each other and reach out to them and, let them know that they're amazing individuals, even though they aren't out running 100 miles. So it's a weird feeling, I want to say, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. It was awesome. I love this finish, and it was. But it's not everything, and it fades pretty quick. So now Wendy just visited the cabin a little bit ago while we were here, and she goes, so everybody, what's he training for? And I don't know what I'm training for, but I know I'm trying to kick that can down the road as far as I can because it's a pretty fun gig, and it's fun hanging out with everybody in the ultra world.